Hello, and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. I have some examples for you. Last time, I shared with you this book by Vita Sackville West of her cycle poems, long poems on the land and the garden. And I realized that for the English land, there was an awareness that it was crucial, it was vital. The gardens depend on the land, and we depend on the production of food production of the land. So I got thinking about that and about that period of time and of some of the other writers who chose to write about the land. One of them was Eleanor Fargeron. Now, Eleanor wrote stories. She wrote loads of books. This is the book that's for children, and it's a selection of her poems that's called The Children's Bells. I have another collection, similar size, but this is my favorite of the two, so I thought, well, I'll show you the favorite. And this book includes the year. Now, Vita divided her year up into seasons, 4 seasons, starting with winter. And Eleanor writes about the calendar year as well in about 100 pages of poems at the end of this volume deal with the seasons. And what she's done, she divides them into first quarter being January, February, March, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and she clusters poems that have to do with seasonal events, the weather, other things, but that happen or we connect with each of those quarters. This book starts with something, a children's bell refers to the city bells of London were half muffled, commemoration of the bell ringers who fell in the First World War. And there's fatherless children are listening near you, a line in this reminds me of the tremendous loss of life of the men, fathers, in many cases, during the First World War. Then the actual first poem that is in the book is called All the Way to Alfriston. And I'd like to read a little bit from it to give you an idea of what an observant person she was. All the way to Alfriston. From Chichester to Alfriston, I went along the running downs, high above the patchwork plain, fantastical as Jacob's coat, with colored squares of grass and grain, earthen russets, duns and browns, charlock yellow, clover green, reddening wheat and silver oat, and rivers coiling in between, and roofs of little peopled town. So to make this journey that she's on, she's walking up on top of the downs, looking down to the patchwork quilt of the fields. I heard the wind among the leaves and corn that was not yet in sheaves, swishing with a sound of surf. I heard the cry of distant trains, the rush and dip of scudding rains. I heard my foot beat on the turf, the lark's delight, the pewit's plaint, hoarse calls of shepherds bark and bleat, sheep bells and church bells in the heat, and rambling thunders far and faint. I saw dew ponds round as pearls, and multitudes of summer flowers, mulleins tall as little girls, and Canterbury bells in showers, fields flushed with saffron, banks that blazed with golden toadflax and such fires of poppy that I was amazed, and chicory as blue as heaven, seen in clear water. This visual picture that she paints and the sound picture that she paints, I really enjoyed. So I like a lot of her fiction and storytelling and the poems, and I think you'd enjoy them. Now, she talked about the shepherds, and John Clear wrote a calendar, a sequence of poems around the year as well, and he just starts them off month by month with January, and I think he's my favorite poet. Didn't have a lot of schooling, born in 1793, rural, and probably out working at various jobs to help the family survive. But an observant poet of the landscape, what's going on, emotions, and village life as well. But the Shepherd's Calendar. Then this person was born 20 years before Evita Sackville West. Her name was Edith Holden, and this is her cover, the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. And I remember seeing this book and I thought, wow, nature notes for 1906, and a poem from Byron. And so she starts with the months like Clear did with January. She's got some excerpts of poems, mottos, and then these watercolors that she does. And a long poem by Coleridge about trees, and she has some dead leaves that she's drawn and colored with watercolors. I think they're exquisite. And so the book is a feast for the eye and a feast for the ear as well. She doesn't do every day. Here's like the 5th, 11th, much more, the 12th, 14th, 18th. As she goes along, she writes more. She started out, and I think she warmed to project that she was working on and got excited by it, and that's what one could only hope for. How you get interested in something and you get going, and then you get sort of carried away as you go. The 18th, today I saw a curious oak tree growing in a field near Elmdon Park. From a distance it looked as if half of the tree were dead and the other half covered with glossy green leaves. Now this is January. On examination, the main trunk and two of the main branches proved to be of a species of oak that has glossy acorn cups and large, deeply serrated leaves, leafless in winter. Growing out of the crown of the trunk and forming full half of the tree was an evergreen or cork oak in full foliage. The join in the two trunks was scarcely perceptible. See, I haven't forgotten about trees completely yet, and don't intend to. So January 23rd, you see she's written more and more, and then she'll write poems. Here's poems by Burns and Chaucer and Clark and Shelley and Wordsworth, and another one, Yew Trees by Wordsworth, and the yew. And she mentions its poisonous properties reside in the foliage, the fleshy part of the berries being quite harmless, though the seed is injurious. And I think I've tried to stress, I would caution children, don't handle the berry, because it's hard for a child to make a distinction between the red part being okay to nibble on, but don't eat the seed. The book is a visual feast. She covers the back of the book, actually. She's got, there's a nice one for December with the holly berries, and she has a list of wildflowers found in the neighborhood, and she gives the common name and the scientific name, and it goes on for several pages. Let's see. And she's also got back here a section on birds and wild birds. And so I thought it was quite a treasure. I got a copy and gave it to my daughter. And the women gardeners I shared last time, there were two poets I mentioned that were represented with more than just one poem. One of them was named Molly Holden, and so I wanted to share and underscore the name Molly Holden. I hold her poetry in high regard. She loved the outdoors, loved exploring, and then she got multiple sclerosis, which she ended up dying from at 56. She was confined to a wheelchair, had to be pushed outside, but our observations she makes before this happened to her, and then the observations she makes after, are both astounding. Just a truly observant person, and even having to make her observation of the skies through sitting inside through the window, things like that. It's so And the other person that was mentioned was Ruth Pitter. Now, this is a collection of all her poems, collected poems, not a selection, but all of them are in this volume, published in 1990. And it covers a number of years that she lived. I've got her birthday down here somewhere. 1897 to 1992. She lived to be 95 years old and saw a lot of history as well. I had read this book from the UVic library probably 15 years ago, and found many poems that I liked, and I've got a little list here of poems that I want to recommend. You know, you get this, you maybe don't want to read the whole, all the poems, but if you knew some poems, then you might check them out. They are, first one I'm going to say is page 141, Other People's Glass Houses. Perfect Lot of Lettuce, Rhubarb Pie, The Die-Hard, just about fall gardeners, The Bay Tree, the tall fruit trees, the bat, wild honey, leafcutter bees, which was in the anthology Women Gardeners. The Victory Bonfire, that was a poem that really stayed with my memory after the World War II, this village bonfire. The Three Damson poems, and Rhubarb, which again was a poem that it just stuck with me. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.